Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, InaneDragon, and feel like I'm at risk of falling into a rut. I know, there's always something new to say about the silly flat earthers, the creationists, and all of that, but there must be some crazy atheist people railing against religion, right? Nah, we're too rational. Careful in our thinking.
Every answer to the big questions of existence is contained in just one place.
Who the fuck are you, and why did you paint a scar on your eye? Do you think you're Odin? Are you one of those, Norse-style neo-pagans? I've only had one of those so far, and he was a little bit more of an ethno-nationalist. Also, he had eyebrows.
The state that came before the Big Bang. This is the place where religion fails and science breaks down.
What the fuck? Okay. I'll hear you out, but, so, religion fails, so I suppose you're an atheist, alright, but science breaks down before the Big Bang. You do know that the Big Bang is a scientific hypothesis, right? Well, although I guess you could still say that in the ridiculously simple-minded sense that we don't yet know what happened before the Big Bang, or if that's even a question that has a meaningful answer. Interestingly, now that we've proven the existence of gravity waves with the LIGO detectors, we can start designing experimental gravity wave detectors which may allow us to not only explore closer to the Big Bang than ever before, but perhaps even start exploring other universes if they exist. So let's be honest. Science doesn't break down here when you're speaking about the objective cosmos. It simply has situations in which we have not yet developed the means to gain answers.
But it is the beating heart, the ontological center of Hyperianism.
Wait. So you aren't religious, but you think that you know something about what precedes the Big Bang. Do you, by chance, have proof for any of this? Is this a hypothesis you're planning on testing? Because if you do, then science didn't break down at all. You simply haven't published your earth-shaking research through the proper peer-reviewed channels. Come on, as a fellow atheist, you're supposed to be a smart guy. That's how we do things around here. You should know how this works. If you have actual evidence for something. Wait. Hyperianism? Do I want to know? Whatever. I'm sure you'll explain. Promise, I won't keep interrupting so much. This would get tedious if I interrupted you every time you said something stupid.
The Big Bang event is the beginning of the space-time dimension, the physical world. Mainstream Western religion absurdly claims that God created the universe, yet it cannot answer what God is. Science goes even a step further in absurdity and makes the ultimate irrational and illogical claim that existence came from non-existence randomly and for no reason. You cannot get more irrational than that.
I can't even begin to comprehend how wrong you are on every point. First, just to get the taste out of my mouth quickly, I gotta defend religion. Yes, all religion everywhere for all time. Excepting the obscurantists who say that God is intentionally a mystery, the religious have very definitive ideas of exactly what they think their god or gods are. even the obscurantists will generally accept the 3 or maybe it's 4 omni definition. All-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing, and sometimes but not always all good. Sure, for various reasons, everyone rejects most of these gods as bullshit, with atheists adding at least one more. But that doesn't mean that they don't claim to know what their particular chosen god is. Right. As for the most correct thing that you said, about the dimension of space-time beginning with the Big Bang. First of all, to be pedantic, it's dimensions. There are at least 4 of them. Second, the Big Bang is not the start of space-time, but rather it is the first point at which our observable space-time appears to begin to exist in theory. It may be that some other space-time existed prior to this point. It may be that nothing existed prior to this point. It may be that everything existed, including space-time, in a supercondensate state that is incomprehensible within current models of physics. We don't know, because we can't observe it, at least not yet. Why do people always get that one messed up? Always. Our universe is just our observable dimensions of space and time. The beginning of our universe, called the Big Bang, is therefore not the beginning of everything, but the beginning of what we can observe. Full fucking stop. Right? The biggest idiocy. No one, not one person in the field of cosmology suggests that the state prior to or directly at the Big Bang was non-existence. Whether it's a universe with a reversed arrow of time, some hyperdimensional volume containing a multitude of other universes, an infinitesimally small and infinitely massive singularity in which time and space have no meaning, or any of a dozen other hypotheses. Nobody educated in the scientific literature says that the probable state before the Big Bang was non-existence. So you're 0 for 3. Why should we listen to you? And are you sure that you aren't religious? Because Hyperianism, it kind of sounds like a cult.
And by claiming this, scientific materialism has made itself the enemy of logic and reason. If your system cannot answer what preceded the Big Bang, then your theory of reality has utterly failed. We reject the faith in miracles of religion, and we equally reject the absurd miracle of the Big Bang occurring for no reason, as proposed by your scientists. This is a laughingstock, a cosmic joke. It is a disgrace to your species that anyone on this planet actually takes it seriously.
Or it has taken the logical and reasonable solution of stating that without some kind of actual evidence to explain what preceded the Big Bang, it is illogical and irrational to speculate wildly and declare whatever you shit out of your ass to be the truth. Just saying. Maybe atheists can be fucking crazy. I'm still banking on him being a cult with a crazy god being. Maybe he worships a Megon and is turning his brain-dead followers into sandwiches. That makes more sense than anything that Woo Goblin here has said so far.
You see, scientific materialism breaks down at the state prior to the Big Bang because the Big Bang was the beginning of the physical dimension, and they claim that there is no existence beyond the physical, even though they have no evidence for this whatsoever. And this is 100% based on their belief system, their faith in materialism.
The idea that scientists think that there is only the physical world ignores the fact that there are non-materialist and even religious scientists. Further, it ignores the fact that science uses methodological materialism as a premise because to date, everything has successfully had a material explanation. Further, methodological naturalism is a consequence of the fact that if you could quantify and measure the non-material, it would by definition cease to be non-material. Literally, the material world is just anything which we can detect, observe, or measure. So yeah, you have a problem. The minute you prove that your spiritual world exists through some mechanism of actual detection, observation, or measurement, it's part of the material world. Catch-22, you damned idiot!
What preceded the Big Bang was non-physical. And since their materialist system claims there is nothing other than the physical, this prior state is outside of their system. And in order for them to maintain their beliefs, they deny the existence of this prior state.
Again, you're just wrong. How do you know the state before the Big Bang was non-physical? What does non-physical even mean? You haven't defined it for me yet. No one denies that something existed before the Big Bang. People who aren't arrogant, that is, scientists, general lay people with a basic education in the sciences, even most religious folk, just admit that they don't really know what it was. The religious guys just believe.
Because of their faith in their system that claims only the material domain exists, they are forced to make the ultimate illogical claim, one of the most irrational, illogical, and insane theories ever. And that is that existence sprang from non-existence, randomly, and for no reason. Do you see what is happening here? Due to the limits of their physicalist system, scientific materialists are confronted with a choice. On one hand, they have the faith of their system and their materialist beliefs, and on the other, they have logic and reason. They cannot have both, and so they must choose. They can either choose logic and reason, which shows that the state prior to the Big Bang was non-physical, or they can choose to maintain the faith in their materialist beliefs. And so they choose to keep their beliefs, and by making that choice, they deny logic and reason by claiming that existence randomly sprang from non-existence.
So, this is dumb for so very many reasons. First, as already discussed, that's not what anyone, anywhere in cosmology says. Likewise, I've laid out how methodological naturalism, or materialism, whatever you prefer, is not a presuppositional belief, but rather an outcome of the results of all research ever conducted to date. Given that there are scientific studies into the efficacy of prayer, we can unequivocally denounce the nonsense that all scientists refuse to examine supernatural causation. Second, you presume that reasons, that is, causes, apply under all circumstances. Here's the thing, at the most basic level of reality that we can see, the reality that gives you such concepts as singularities, there is no cause and effect. It literally doesn't exist. Cause and effect do not apply at quantum levels, which is what we have at the Big Bang. And technically, every moment in our life is just one massive quantum function. Cause and effect emerge at a scale above the quantum mechanics when you look at sufficiently complex systems. So you're not even wrong.
This is an affront to intelligence, and it is just as bad as mainstream religion. Those that follow a major religion will stick their head in the sand whenever evidence against their beliefs is brought before them, because it falls outside of their system. And likewise, scientific materialists will close their eyes and shut their ears to reason itself because it falls outside of their material belief system.
What is reasonable about accepting a claim without any basis in fact for such acceptance? Why should I accept your woo if you cannot provide any form of independent verification? Do you understand how to think? I'm not sure you do. You know, I wouldn't likely have bothered spending that much time on our woo goblin here if it weren't for the tens of thousands of people who are ingesting this nonsense uncritically.
Scientific materialism is the new irrational religion of this age. Don't get caught up in the lies of this empirical religion, a religion of matter, masquerading as the truth. Scientific materialism has failed at explaining the state prior to the Big Bang, and it's founded on one of the most irrational claims of all time. Like any religious fanatic, they refuse to criticize the belief system they have chosen. Ludicrously, they believe they can construct rational defenses of insanely irrational propositions. Listening to their demented reasoning is like listening to Christians using quotes from the Bible to prove their point to non-Christians.
Sure, you basically admit that you're just pulling your drivel straight from your nethers instead of pushing an old book. But that old book is at least responsible for having helped build something resembling civilization in Europe. Can you claim any kind of a success for Hyperianism? Not saying it's a defense of Christianity, though it's frightful that you have me treading the line of defending Christianity. Seriously, though, it's obvious you've never read a scientific text meant for anyone outside of the criminally insane. So, how is it that you can presume what science even says? You're just repeating yourself now, which is a fallacious debating tactic intended to get others to accept your bullshit through the process of simple rote memorization. I was promised an explanation of what really caused the Big Bang. What is your evidence? What experiment have you performed? Where is at least a logically sound argument based on factually proven premises? Not seeing it. Do you have anything other than pointing out the acknowledged fact that current physics does not fully explain the state at or before the Big Bang? This sounds like a giant argument from ignorance, and that's the flat earther's job. Which is to say that since physicists have yet to solve the problem, anything you shit out must be correct. And in that situation, why aren't the Christians, Muslims, Hindu, or Pastafarians equally correct?
This is irrational garbage. Where are there sufficient reasons? Where is their logic? Where is their proof? They don't have any, and they will never have any. Theirs is not a truth system. It is a belief system. Those that worship scientific materialism often say, well, that's just how the universe is. You just have to accept it. Funny. That's exactly the sort of thing religious believers say. Sorry, we don't have to believe anything you say. At no stage do you have any evidence for any of your claims. All you have is a set of models and interpretations of models. The substantive part of science is the mathematical part. All the rest is speculative garbage, which raises the point, why do we need materialism when we can have mathematics? Science is just mathematics with a sham ideology of empiricism and materialism forced on top of it to satisfy their beliefs.
You do know that the overwhelming majority of those models you're dismissing are, well, mathematics. E equals mc squared. That's a model. It's also mathematics. F equals ma. A model expressed in mathematics yet again. When Lawrence Krauss discusses how the universe that we see today may arise from nothing for a given definition of nothing, that's because he applied mathematics to the standard model of an empty vacuum and demonstrated that it could produce our universe. Pure mathematics and nothing but mathematics. Now, those mathematical formulae are accepted and used because they reliably replicate events that we see in the real world. It's true, but how else would you sift the good ideas out of the mindless dross that you're trying to shovel? You really are hoping that no one ever thinks about the nonsense you're spewing, aren't you? Because you still have nothing. And so far, you've only undercut your position with each new idea that you introduce. So far, you further convinced me that we need to embrace the empirical sciences with their accurate capacity to model the observable universe and acknowledge when its conclusions are speculative or non-existent at the present time.
For this world to progress, your people must reject scientific materialism and embrace scientific rationalism. That is a science that rejects all of the irrational material beliefs and instead embraces a mathematical system, which is exactly what Hyperianism does.
So scientific rationalism is the rejection of evidence, testing of hypotheses, and verification. In other words, it's not science, and it's far from rational. Gotcha! You really should learn to word gooder.
Nature does not use unreason, it uses reason. Scientific materialism is false. Science could be true if it became scientific rationalism and aligned itself with and gave priority to mathematics, the language of nature, the language of existence, the ontological expression of the principle of sufficient reason.
You do realize that logic, mathematics, and science are all tools we humans use to understand nature, right? Mathematics and logic work because they were designed to accurately reflect the world we observe. You can technically create any axiom that you want in mathematics, and it'll work. The ones we use because they conform to observed reality. That is to say that mathematics and logic are systems built to empirically model the world. Science is simply the synthesis of mathematics, logic, and reason in the study of the world around us, since mathematics and logic have already been shaped to conform to the observable world. No reasonable application of either can help but be empirical when applied to the world as it appears to exist. Sorry, bub, but either your scientific rationalism is empirical or it's irrational. You know what? This is already running fairly long. We'll set the rest of your video aside and announce the first official 2-part rebuttal on the InaneDragon channel. I'll probably cover some other topics in a desperate attempt to recover my sanity and liver function before recording part 2, but we are not going to leave you here, oh mighty woo goblin, no worries. Ladies and gentlemen, so far we've established that he has no idea what he's talking about, doesn't understand religion or science, and we've established that there is nothing rational or reasonable about Hyperianism. I'd invite you to subscribe for more, if only so you can see how much further down the woo hole our friend here can go. Donations through Patreon, such as those from these fine folk, are always appreciated. Thank you all, and have a good night.